La Gomera, Canary Islands. The 2013 Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge has just started. 16 teams, most of them complete novices, are taking on the voyage of their lives.
It's amazing!
They're attempting to cross the vast Atlantic Ocean using manpower alone. It's a giant leap into the unknown, and this year the world's toughest rowing race would more than live up to its fearsome reputation.
Oh my God.
Enough's enough. It's just relentless.
It's been really tough and I'm really scared now.
The teams entering the Atlantic Campaign's organised race range from five-man crews to solo rowers and come from myriad backgrounds, including an Australian handyman, Swedish ex-elite soldiers, businessmen, military teams, and most obscurely, professional polo players.
We're all up for an adventure, and I think this is about as extreme as you can get. So you want to see how you cope with it.
As the glamorous sport of kings is nothing like grinding endurance rowing, two of the team went on a fact-finding mission to the race's spiritual home, the Isle of Skye.
We're the privileged two that have been invited up, come and check it all out and see what it's about.
Not only did they learn about the race's heritage,
Hi guys, welcome to the distillery.
they discovered the intricacies behind single malts. But the main takeout from their trip was a jolting reality check of what lies ahead.
This is the Atlantic. This is feeling a lot more real for what we're going to face. This is making me pretty nervous.
In La Gomera, Atlantic Polo's rivals in the fours class, Road to Recovery is practicing hard. This British Army team contains two members wounded from armed conflict. Their aim is to compete on equal terms and inspire others.
Being injured soldiers ourselves, we can take our legs, our limbs and that, but we still cross an ocean. We're about to row across the Atlantic. It's a big thing.
Overcoming adversity is a huge part of this whole thing. You know, we've been dealt a fairly rubbish hand, but we're making the best of, you know, what we've got, really. So it's good to have these kind of goals to aim towards and keep guys motivated is crucial.
While there's healthy rivalry across the fleet, the pairs class is by far the most competitive. The favourites are two Swedish former parachute soldiers and serial extreme challenge junkies, Nordic Endurance.
All the way down now, come on.
Their preparations included Henrik Bunge, once the fastest man to ski to the North Pole, as they're out to break the 40-day world record for a pair's Atlantic crossing.
We're in it for beating the world record. Doesn't matter who's going to be in there. We're going to beat them. We're going to win. You got to have that mental picture. I'm going to win. We're going to win. We're going to do this. Nothing more.
After spending weeks adding finishing touches to their preparations, all the teams stand on the cusp of their greatest ever challenge. They must row one of the most brutal, physically demanding races on the planet.
It is the #1 ocean endurance challenge in the world. More people have been into space than rowed across the Atlantic Ocean. You can feel the tension around the fleet that something big is going to happen.
How often can you do something this extraordinary? It's one of the toughest challenges on the planet. I feel like we're breaking the mold and doing something that most people wouldn't even dream of doing.
Race start morning. Time to say goodbye to loved ones, summon courage, and confront the might of the Atlantic Ocean.
Now we're actually going out and we're not coming back for a while. That's pretty scary, but it's also really exciting because this is where the adventure starts.
We've got 3,000 miles of just empty ocean, and I think that is going to be a big thing to overcome.
Want to go, just go.
Yeah.
Okay guys, 30 minutes to go on your boats.
As the seconds tick down, Nordic Endurance are still fine-tuning their boat, while it seems the Polo Boys are in total chaos.
I've been having a last-minute scramble around my room for headphones and a letter from an important person. We've got about 10 minutes before we have to be off.
I'll catch you on the boat in a minute.
That was extremely emotional. The pride there is amazing.
Until the race starts. Helicopters are here. It's on!
Really pumped. Adrenaline flowing through every vein. Wow.
As the starter horn rings, years of planning, dreaming, and preparing ends. And their daunting ocean challenge begins. Their goal, to row unassisted roughly 3,000 miles from La Gomera, Canary Islands, to Antigua in the Caribbean.
You've got the sort of feeling of nervousness, you know, it's like, you know, before a big match, but on a scale that is sort of unfathomable, really. You know, it's just, you can't comprehend. You don't know what's going to happen. It's the unknown. You see the horizon, and you know that you're not going to see anything else on that horizon for at least 2 months. And to try and get into an understanding and mindset of that is, it's impossible.
I don't think you could say we were ready, because we had no idea what we were doing. We were out there in the middle of the Atlantic and we didn't have a clue.
The first 3 days, it was a crash course in learning. We didn't even know where north was. We thought we'd go north for 3 weeks, but actually we were going southwest.
We had an incredible weather route to go. I mean, from day one, the questions we asked, I mean, we hope he never repeats to anybody. We must have looked like complete pillocks.
While the Polo Boys struggle to find their sea legs, on adventure for a cure, solo rower Andrew Abrahams is feeling right at home.
We're loving it. Yeah.
The Aussie handyman, surfboat enthusiast, and world record holder rowing 1,000,000 meters swears by his slogan, "You gotta wanna."
It's a massive challenge, and to me, the 4 Ps is prior, planning, and preparation pay off. That's what you need to do in a challenge this big. I knew I was ready, I knew my boat was ready to go, and I was just really confident, very confident. Pulling the pin, that just wasn't an option for me. I wasn't going to get rescued, I was going to make it across the Atlantic. My motto, "You gotta wanna," is what it's all about, you know. If you want to enough, you're determined enough, you'll make it happen, that's for sure. Yeah.
But the good times will not last. A storm is approaching, and everyone's about to feel the wrath of the Atlantic.
I've just seen a twister. It's coming right for us.
"16 teams are taking on the Atlantic Ocean. They're attempting one of the great endurance challenges on Earth, rowing 3,000 miles from the Canary Islands off Africa's west coast to Antigua in the Caribbean.
This is our home for the foreseeable future.
Only 4 days into their gargantuan row, the teams are facing their first critical test. On board the racer's support yacht, Skipper Maria is growing concerned at a nasty storm bearing down on them.
They're gonna have a strong wind against the big swell. The side of the rowing boat will be like a washing machine, I would imagine. They're gonna get hammered.
As conditions take a turn for the worse,
I've just seen a twister. It's coming right for us. Can you see that? Oh my God.
Atlantic Polo's weather router delivers a chilling warning.
I phoned him up and I said, okay, right, James, you've got a storm coming. And he goes, now this is where you find out what sort of man you are. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, you know, you're going to find out a lot of things about yourself now. They started talking to me about this bloody storm.
As the teams hunker down and prepare for the worst, they deploy their para-anchors. These underwater parachutes stop boats careering out of control in rough conditions. In the meantime, the crews seal themselves into their watertight cabins to safely ride out the storm.
It was a big storm. I opened the hatch and it's coming over the side and it just started getting darker and darker and darker, and the rain just went and emptied. There was lightning around us, and the lightning would go off and you'd see like a monster swell. Jeez, what is going on?
While the battle-hardened soldiers on road to recovery are finding it a baptism of fire, solo rower Andrew Abrahams is enduring the tempest all on his own.
It was hard. And the worst thing was I knew I was going to cop a battering, but scary when that storm hit. If I got hit on that boat, side on, I don't know how it stayed upright. You're sitting in the cabin and you're fully braced and you're hanging on with all your life. You can hear it coming, closer and closer. And then boom, it hit the boat and just consumed the boat. I think everybody was in survival mode there. That weather got so rough. We're trying to get through as best we can. We were hanging on for life.
As the storm rages relentlessly, five-man team Atlantic Splash's boat develops a leak. Fearing the worst, they're saved by a rescue helicopter.
Once we had all been airlifted up into the helicopter, I think we all cried at that point. I know I did. And it just was hard. Yeah, really hard.
Very, very difficult decision to abandon the boat. So much time and effort had gone into this, and for it to be taken away from you, we knew it was the right decision.
Over on Atlantic Polo, the boys are still holed up in their boat, but 3 was proving more than a squeeze in their coffin-like stern cabin, meaning Henry sitting out the atrocious conditions alone in the bow cabin.
It was my worst nightmare. During the build-up to the race, I would be thinking, imagine if I was in a storm now. That's what happened in the first week. Every one of my worst scenarios came true. I did nothing. I did absolutely nothing for 3 days, 3 nights. Just sat there. I had a bit of water, no food. And the noise of the waves hitting the boat, just when on a day-to-day basis, you can really hear it because it's a hollow carbon fibre shell. As the wave approaches, it gives off this, and you feel it. There are missiles coming towards you, and sometimes they would miss, they go past you, and then other times they would full-on hit. Boom, the whole thing moves sideways, and you don't know the capabilities of the boat. Well, none of us did. And in a storm, obviously, they were smashing the boat. It felt like the boat was going to snap in half. The only reading I had was, ironically, a book called Adrift, and it was about a guy who was stuck on a life raft for 76 days at sea.
While Atlantic Polo and the remaining fleet are holding station on para-anchor, the Swedish pair on Nordic Endurance are toughing it out. With the fleet being pushed backwards by the adverse weather, they're fearful their world record Atlantic crossing attempt is being jeopardized.
You gotta have luck to really beat the world record. I mean, you gotta do it well, you gotta do it perfect, but you gotta have luck as well. I don't think we did. When the storm hit us, I think we were in the lead, actually, or pretty much. We were doing good. We felt pretty good, and I mean, everybody else is on para-anchor.
We decided our strategy was para-anchor up, taking the para-anchor out, row, para-anchor in, row. We did not want to lose any ground. We hardly didn't lose any ground, and we saw people going back and back and back, and we just kept on pushing for the same place because we knew we could push our bodies, but that's sort of our attitude as well as, oh my God, this is really awesome. We put ourselves in this situation, let's ride it.
Ocean ruin! Nordic endurance style!
This is what we want to do. This is what we're going to get through.
Nordic Endurance aren't the only ones confronting the conditions head-on. Andrew Abrahams has decided to pack away his para anchor for good.
I think the first 2 nights I put out my para anchor and it actually drifted east, which was further away from the finish line. That was enough to make me go, hang on, I'm not doing that again. Well, I just turned my boat and pointed it west. I went, yeah, let's go. This boat of mine, the heavy tank, she just, like a steamroller, she just kept going and I couldn't slow her down.
Talk about adrenaline. Yeah! That was unreal.
1 week into the race, the storm subsides. The good news is now the prevailing conditions are pushing the fleet towards their target, Antigua. The bad news, sustained 40-knot gales, whips waves up to epic proportions.
Odd thousand miles at sea I have, and I've never experienced waves of that magnitude. And then to find yourself in a rowing boat in those waves was challenging and terrifying. Maxed out at probably about 60 feet at times, with breaking tops as well. In a boat that's only 29 feet long and you've got a freeboard of about a foot above the water, that gives 59 feet difference.
In these conditions, controlling your boat becomes increasingly precarious. On road to recovery, a rogue breaker rolls them upside down, hurling skipper James and double-leg amputee Cale into the Atlantic in the middle of the night.
In the 16th minute of the 16th of December, out of nowhere you hear a rumbling and you can't see anything. And then this white wall appears. It's like the jaws of hell opening up to engulf you, with teeth smiling and grinning, and then suddenly it just swallows you. And essentially just flipped the boat straight over. Didn't have a second to think, really. We were just in the water and the boat was upside down. Cale was velcroed into his seat because he's got a different setup. So when that goes upside down, we had no idea whether he'd be able to release it. It's quite terrifying.
Initially, starting the race, I wasn't sure how, in a situation like capsize, how you're going to react. Are you going to flap like a windsock, or are you just going to, get on with it? My immediate thought on hitting the water was, good grief, this is actually really quite warm in here. The water was actually quite lovely, but it was just washing machine. It was turbulent, really getting thrown around a bit. I hit one of the oars that was secured to the oar stand with my head, later finding out that I then snapped it in half. I swam to the surface thinking that the boat would be upside down, trying to see where James was, and sort of popped up, and the boat had pretty much immediately rerighted itself, which they're designed to do. I then, jumped on board and we continued the row for the evening. We found as a crew that when things were going wrong, when the weather was horrendous, when we were being pummeled by waves, actually there was very little panic involved. There was a definite military, right, let's get on with it. This is a situation that we're in, let's grizz it out and just get on with it.
With conditions turning into some of the worst in the race's history, almost all the teams experience a capsize. This, coupled with chronic sleep deprivation from rotating 2 hourly rowing shifts, is taking some crew to breaking point.
I had no idea it would be as bad as it was. And I remember calling the race organisers and saying, we've capsized. And then they said, look, don't worry, you're in it with everyone else is capsized as well. And it made us feel a lot better. But there was a good half hour I was thinking, let's just get out of here, because this is miserable. I was thinking if we capsize now, we could easily die. And you kind of start thinking about, your family and your girlfriend, and is it really worth it? I'll tell you why I'm upset. I think I was tired, bloody bored of sitting on the power anchor. But I just want to bloody get there now. Seriously, enough's enough. And it's just relentless. We'll be okay. Look at all these signs here that people have written in our cabin, which is really nice. You'll be reading this in some dark times. It's what you do in those dark times to make you champions. Win or lose as a team, together. Good luck, Pete Reed, double Olympic champion. But anyway, I'll stop crying, man up, and go and race some miles tomorrow. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
The Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge is living up to its fearsome reputation. Almost a fortnight into the world's toughest rowing race, crews have been taken to the brink as fierce gales constantly lash the fleet. To make matters worse for Atlantic Polo's Henry Brett, he's quite literally suffering from cabin fever.
I went into the cabins are boiling hot. He had woolly gloves, salopettes on full blanket on top of him, and he was cold. I had chats with him a couple of times. He said, mate, I just don't want to be here. I'm like, well, there's no escape.
If ever I've seen anybody at breaking point, he was within a millimetre. One of the most trying things that creates, bickering on the boat is that when you have got to pull someone else's weight and quite literally row their weight, it's tough.
It caused a bit of friction on the boat. They didn't really understand. This wasn't me just having a little meltdown. This was me actually being ill. This is me actually having, real concerns, because if it goes wrong, it goes wrong, but it goes wrong to the point where, you can die. I blew up at one stage. I said, look, I'll get to Antigua. I will get there. But you guys have just got to understand. I play polo, that's kind of where I'm good. But endurance for that amount of time and coping with sleep deprivation, I said that's my worst event. Glasson is like, I called him a short wheel-based Land Rover that just keeps going. I likened myself to a sports car, and he said, no, you're more like a Suzuki Vitara that just keeps breaking down.
To be fair to him, he stuck it out, and he did it, and great, and he was strong at the end. He started sleeping, I think that was key. He started eating properly. He suddenly got stronger, he started rowing, and then he suddenly realised he could do it.
You're in the middle of the ocean in a small rowing boat, and there's no way out. Sometimes you're on a roller coaster from hell. You have to deal with it. That's it. You have to deal with it. You have to survive. We have no option. This has to happen. And then you conform and you make yourself do what needs to be done. We all manage to do that, every single one of us. That's where you find out, I guess, a lot about yourself. You put your mind to it, you can really come out the other side and accomplish something.
While Atlantic Polo soldier on manfully, others are less fortunate. Astro Sweden's solo rower is helicoptered to safety, and Pear's team, Nias Energy, need rescuing by a passing tanker.
For me, I'm not willing to risk leaving my wife and kids at home without a husband and a dad.
Another crew blighted by bad luck is Nordic Endurance. Before race start, they boldly proclaimed they were out to smash the world record for a pair's Atlantic crossing. But as they try to make up lost ground from the adverse conditions, they suffer another damaging setback.
This morning, woke up and put the auto steering on, and the auto steering is broken. And it just seems that we never get a break. Really frustrating. We brought 2 auto homes because we knew they have a tendency to not work the whole way. But we figured that a lot of the teams have auto helm half the way. So if we bring 2, we have auto helm the whole way. But we killed them in 2 weeks. It was a big downer for us because we knew we were dependent on the auto helms to make our trip so fast that we actually can challenge the records. So this was for us mentally and something that was very, very frustrating.
Okay. Fun. Love it. We're enough days in to see that we lost too many days to beat the world record, but we can still do a good time, still win the race. But then we flipped over.
Although their boat self-righted as designed, a hatch left ajar allows seawater to flood their batteries and water maker. This sea-to-drinking water converter is vital, and fixing it requires desperate measures.
Our water maker is impossible to reach down there with the pump. And it's like, how am I gonna do this? And the water maker's motor is flooded with salt water. What I had to do is that I had to take a hose, I had to suck up the water, 20 liters of water in my mouth, and then spit it in a bucket.
I have emptied this bucket now 5 times, and it's really disgusting.
After many trials and tribulations with their water maker.
Oh, no, the hose is the wrong dimension. Yay, my Leatherman stopped working now.
They eventually fix it. Now the critical moment their race hopes hinge on.
You have this feeling that this is not good. And then Eric started the water pump and it works. And then he's like, boom. The water maker just said, goodbye, I'm no more.
That was a big moment. That was a really enormous, humongous moment for our team and our success in the race and everything we planned. It was mentally devastating for me, sacking our whole mission completely. It was physically fine, but mentally crushed. Because I felt like the time we put into this, the other preparations, like everything from food to people we talked to getting to place, to the money you put into this, to reaching this goal that you want so bad, felt that somebody just ripped it away from you.
It went from us being able to row 24/7 and putting a lot of effort in rowing together. Instead of doing like that, we had waking up in the morning, taking up the water pump, sitting inside, that's like sitting in a sauna, it's 40 to 50 degrees, pumping water. 450 strokes gets you 1 liter. So we basically had to pump, instead of rowing together for 6 hours, we had to pump water. And we had to go down to only 6 hours rest every day. So we get less rest and we get less time on the oars and more times rowing by yourself. That was pretty devastating.
This is a journey, and this is a journey to experience stuff and to learn stuff about yourself. The world record was out of reach, but we're not here to fall. We're here to rise. We have to pump water, enjoy the ride. This is our journey. The last thing that gives up is hope.
Three weeks into the race, everyone has a good reason to cheer up. It's Christmas. And time for the boys on Atlantic Polo to massacre traditional carols.
Can you please open your books at page 36?
Star of wonder, star of light, star of road.
Henry was at the back seat. It was raining, waves were everywhere, and sort of as in the middle of the way through the second verse, this wave just takes Henry out. And Henry's still there with his hair all over his face, and his paper just wasn't there. He was just looking at me like, what are we doing?
As the rest of the fleet wakes up to Christmas morning, the festivities kick in.
Chocolate! Yay, Mommy!
Wow. A serious cracker.
Merry Christmas!
Sadly, one team is not having a happy Christmas. Atlantic Row 2013's power issues are putting a dampener on celebrations.
It's officially the shittest Christmas of my life. We've got massive issues with our electrics, and I'm not an electrician, and others will.
so we don't really know what the hell we're doing. So yeah, it's a bit tiring, and it's a bit of a shit way to spend Christmas Day. I just wish I was at home anywhere but the boat. And this cabin is so hot as well. My beard is so ginger. It's disgusting. Can't even open our stockings at the moment. It's too choppy outside. Yeah, just probably capsizes and shit like that.
Thankfully, a few hours later, following help from their support team, full power is restored and belatedly Christmas comes to Atlantic Row. As the fleet, led by Antigua, rows the Atlantic reaches the halfway stage, the crews have spent a month at sea. Here they're able to savor being on a small boat in a vast ocean.
It's so beautiful. The stars, the moon.
Of all the teams, solo rower Andrew Abrahams is positively thriving in this alien environment, absorbing everything the elements can throw at him, and even baking fresh bread.
Look at that. Let's see. I goes inside. Oh, mate, that's beautiful. Yeah, yibbity yibbity.
While out on the racecourse, Andrew is defying expectations, surging past pairs and four-man crews to reach fourth place overall. But just as his momentum appears unstoppable, he's hit by 4 catastrophes in quick succession.
Basically, I had a bad day. I had a real shocker. The sea wears you down, there's no doubt about it. It is relentless, unforgiving, it will not stop. There's no doubt about it. If you're out there long enough, it will get to you. It took 35 days to get to me before it broke me down. Okay, it's all happening now. There's a massive storm coming. Check this out. Oh, that's what I'm facing. It's blowing like it's unbelievable. It's pretty scary. Some big waves coming up behind me.
As the storm strikes, Andrew's alto helm self-destructs. Then a huge wave smashes one of his oars. Another wave floods his cabin, and to finish him off, he's swept overboard.
This big wave just came up and just went, "You're not going to stay there anymore." It flicked me off like a bug, and I went flying off the boat. My harness and all that went tight and stopped me and plonked in the water. To me, being a mechanical-minded person, I thought that line, just a stitch came undone and went, I was gone. I was floating in the ocean. It was going to be a slow death, never to see anybody again, and that's what went through my mind. I didn't sleep all night. Got up the next morning and I was scared for my life. I'd almost lost it. After yesterday's big dramas, 4 incidents in one day, really knocked me around. I thought it's rocky time, so really upsetting this morning, and rang a few people and had a bit of a whinge, you know, but it's just been really tough, and I'm really scared now. Yeah, scared of maybe breaking another oar or not getting there, I guess, and put so much hard work into this over the last 3 years. I just got to get there. I really want to get there. It's bloody tough. And the sea just doesn't stop. So I've got to build up the courage to get back out there on those oars. And I'm trying, but it's not easy. And I've got to push through.
During his man overboard, Andrew sustained a deep gash to his shin. Now the Aussie tough guy faces the fight of his life to patch himself up, physically and mentally, to complete his solo Atlantic challenge.
The finish line's just getting further and further away.
The 2013 Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge is entering its final stages. After 5 weeks at sea, the harsh regime of 2 hourly shifts, day and night, in a corrosive, salty environment is taking its toll.
The Atlantic Ocean.
It's been one hell of an experience. Wouldn't change it for the world. What a journey.
Succumbing to the hostile ocean is RAF 4 Atlantic Forces and female pair Inspirational Friends, both rescued by passing ships after suffering terminal rudder failures.
Gutted. Totally gutted.
Inspirational Friends lasting 96 days despite compass failure, fire and capsize.
Elle was our inspiration that started the whole thing off in the first place, was a friend of ours that we met through the boat club, and she was diagnosed with cervical cancer at the age of 23. She was our inspiration the whole way across to keep going.
Closing in on Antigua with a commanding lead is the pair's boat Lacura Rose the Atlantic, competing in the open class due to their cutting-edge boat design. Tom Salt and Mike Burton are making serene progress, apart from one bizarre hiccup.
Suddenly, felt this hit to the boat, and we spun around 90 degrees. And I was like, wow, what the hell was that? 2 days later, the sea was nice and calm and baking hot, nice excuse to jump in and scrub the boat. So started from the bow, working back, and then about halfway back, there's this tear in the boat, and it's a big hole. I mean, it's a good 8 inches by 4 inches, this gash. This hole came from something pretty menacing. Got out the water, finished the scrub, and emptied the locker, give it a fix. We've got a Kevlar patch, a very, very strong piece of material. There's this grey spike, maybe 8–10 inches long. That's a bit weird, what is that? Carefully put my hand in, picked it up, and it was this rock-solid spike. This thing could go straight through your hand, no problem. Suddenly realised this is a marlin. It basically skewered the boat, went straight through. Had it hit us 6 foot further forward, it would have gone straight through the sleeping cabin. Could have quite easily gone through one of us.
Even hostile Atlantic wildlife can't halt Lacura. After rowing 41 gruelling days from La Gomera, Canary Islands, they catch sight of Antigua's coastline in the Caribbean. A short while later, as they cross the finish line, they are confirmed the overall winners of the Talisker Whisky Atlantic Challenge.
To be the first is a real honour. It's absolutely fantastic. Whilst we were crossing, it was a massive morale booster. To know that you had 1,000 miles to go, 800 miles to go, to know that everybody in the rest of that fleet had more to go than you, meant we were in a better position. And man, did that lift your spirits.
Meanwhile, a few hundred miles back at sea, a thrilling battle is developing in the Falls class. Atlantic Polo and Road to Recovery going oar to oar in a shootout for victory.
We're 11 miles in front of Road to Recovery, so that is great news.
We're now behind the Polo boys. I don't know how they're doing it, but we can pip them to the finish.
When we were 5 miles apart, and we had done 2,500 miles, 5 miles away from your main competitor, you couldn't write it, you couldn't make it up, and it spurred us on.
There was a bit of competition there. There was pip and post. It was always rather 3 miles ahead. There was 3 miles, we were like 4, but then it would go up. But then eventually they got the weather system. I think we knew probably the last 2 days when there was 24 miles, I think, that we couldn't catch him after that.
Easiest thing we ever did. Love you, boys.
I think it's really good for the sport of ocean rowing that they've done so well, because you look at them and they're four complete nautical amateurs, and they've put their hearts and minds into their campaign, and they've exceeded all expectations. And for the sports, that shows that anyone can go out and do exactly that.
The unlikely lads of Atlantic Polo defy all expectations, finishing second overall and first in the fours class. Their remarkable effort taking 48 days and 7 hours.
I think it's fair to say we weren't expected to do well, maybe even not make it. What are they doing? They're used to sort of a horse taking them around the place as opposed to an oar, so I think there's a lot of people that are quite surprised.
That was the toughest thing I've ever done. Mentally, physically, emotionally. That's enough. I did it. I did it.
Only 9 hours later, Road to Recovery crossed the finish line, and their team of able-bodied and wounded soldiers is treated to a hero's welcome. 18 months ago, Cale Royce was fighting for his life in intensive care. Now he's completed one of the greatest endurance challenges on Earth.
When I woke up in hospital, I very much thought the start of my life was finished, and I thought there's no chance I'm going to be getting involved in these kind of ventures anymore. This has been an enormous confidence boost for me. That was a bloody hard challenge, and I went through it, and I come out the other side, and I'm a stronger person for it. And I think it shows that, you know, we can achieve great things post-injury. It's just been an awesome overall experience for me.
While the fours race went down to the wire, the pairs class is also turning into a classic, with pre-race favourites Nordic Endurance suffering a series of calamities. Two boys in a boat in Atlantic Row 2013 are slugging it out.
I heard last night that we had officially overtaken two boys in a boat, which is awesome. Hopefully we can put some serious mileage between them and us. Game on.
I mean, we're both competitive, so for us to get out in the front, it was a nice place to be. But it wasn't over then. It was always about, right, who's now behind us? How far behind us are they? What do we need to do to stay in front? Because it was for us to lose rather than for them to win. So we just had to hold on to that lead and see it up.
In the end, the city boys of Atlantic Row proved too strong and power home.
We've just crossed the finish line. First pair.
Talisker! Come on!
Such a long period of time. Just crossing the Atlantic is a phenomenal achievement as far as we're concerned. So to then take that one stage extra, win the race, yeah, I mean, it's speechless.
A day later, the plucky 21-year-olds, two boys in a boat, finish second in their class and break the world record for the youngest pair to row the Atlantic.
Well, I suppose I'm feeling right now what it's like to achieve literally a dream. I've said from the start that I would have done it irrelevant of whether there was a record attached to it, but it is the icing on the cake. And I'm sure as everything sinks in, we'll be incredibly proud of it.
As for Swedish team Nordic Endurance, who had such high expectations at the outset, the achievement of completing this incredible challenge transcends any disappointments along the way.
I can just tell you guys that we are Atlantic rowers. We just crossed this Atlantic.
We did it unsupported.
Even though our water maker broke down, even though our autopilot broke down, everything! We crossed the Atlantic Ocean!
It really felt that you had done something when you came in. Our team dynamic was what brought us across. I mean, we ended up doing it faster than any other Swedish team that's ever done it before. And that's something that we can celebrate and be very proud of. And we can be very proud of actually rowing across the Atlantic Ocean.
The last remaining class to be determined is the solo. Andrew Abrahams only needs to get across the Atlantic to claim the prize. But after being swept overboard and injuring his leg, the Aussie is having to dig deeper than ever to make the finish line.
One of the toughest things I've ever had to do is to overcome that. So tired. But I knew I was getting pushed south and I wasn't going to make the line. And nothing was going to stop me from making that line, so I had to just row, and I was tired. I was falling asleep at the oars. I was completely gone. Even pulling on the oars just felt like my fingers were just going to fall off. And I just kept telling myself, you can do it.
Andrew rowed 7 hours straight against a strong southerly current to make the finish line in the early hours of the morning. As he finally sets foot on Antiguan soil after 57 days at sea, his superhuman effort is clearly evident.
I think I'm going to pass it. Three and a half years ago, I said, I'm going to row across the Atlantic. And that's what people need. They need integrity. Don't say it if you don't mean it and you don't want to do it. I'm actually surprised. I'm not that emotional. I guess it hasn't sunk in. It takes a while to sink into my thick head.
And there are more heroic tales as the remaining teams achieve their personal goal of conquering one of the toughest challenges on the planet, using just manpower to row 3,000 miles across the Atlantic Ocean.
It's mind-blowing. It's inspirational doing this race, and just making it is inspiring to everybody who follows you. So to take that back and share that with people and inspire them and help them try and do something else in life, that's the biggest kick that I can get out of it. Yes, I've done it, I've crossed the Atlantic.